because I wanted to get married. Like I just wanted it so bad that I convinced myself. And hey, for better or for worse, if I set my mind to something, I get it done. And in this scenario, it didn't work out so well for me. Don't recommend it.
Podcasting going great.
So what I learned from that and moving forward. Welcome to the Created to Win podcast. Thank you to my incredible, lovely guests. Why don't you guys introduce yourself and share what your name is?
Hi, everyone. My name is Lindsey Ellyn.
I'm Katie Decker.
I'm Jayme Vainer, hoping to get rid of that last name at some point soon.
Let's go on that topic. So today we're here to talk about heartbreak, specifically romantic heartbreak, going through breakups and things like that. And so I thought we could start things off by being a little vulnerable and talk about, let me get this here, our go-to coping food when we go through a breakup or, sadness. For me, it's definitely the carbs. I'm actually really tempted to eat this right now. This is a blueberry muffin, and so this is when I go through a heartbreak. You better bet I'm gonna gain 10 pounds on these bad boys.
Oh yeah, pounds of love.
And what about you?
Yeah, so I'm such a cruncher, and I've actually given up. My favorite crunch is tortilla chips. So I brought mint Milanos. Those are my go-to. But I was joking before the podcast started that actually I realized when thinking what comfort food I had so many, and I was like, that's something God's trying to work on me for. But yeah, mint Milanos is what I brought today.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Mint chocolate. I'm a chocolate fan too. I like me a good Ben & Jerry's. Chocolate fudge, the darker the better. Yeah. Paired with wine, or for today's purposes, Boom Chicka Pop. It's like the best popcorn brand. They have a really good kettle corn, which is like sweet and salty. Yes. You need a little bit of those flavors, a little sweet, a little salty. So that's my go-to.
Okay. I love it. So when I go through a breakup, I eat this for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
What is that?
Oh, okay. So Sanders, once you have one of these, you're never going to go back to any other chocolate ever. Specifically, the sea salt caramel. I like dark chocolate. You can go milk chocolate. Milk chocolate's a little boring.
Yeah.
Dark chocolate. This is from Costco. Go to Costco. Whole Foods,
you
need
pay
$100 for about 10.
Yeah.
Costco, $7 for, a bajillion.
Okay. All right. Awesome. And I want to do a quick shout out before we hop into the pod. North Arrow Coffee. We're all drinking downtown Franklin. My friend Rob, he owns it. Definitely, if you guys are in the Franklin area, check out North Arrow Coffee in downtown Franklin. This coffee is absolutely incredible. I am so fired up right now drinking this.
So's the chai.
Yes.
And so Brian, you were so sweet to treat us today.
Yes, thank you, Brian.
Yeah, cheers to Brian.
Yeah, cheers to
Brian. Thank you for joining. I appreciate it. So let's just go right into it.
Let's go.
What's the hardest part about a breakup?
Oh.
Okay, Jayme. Okay. You have to raise your hand. You can just go.
So I was thinking about this question, and I don't know how to pick. Okay. Is it telling all your friends and family? Is it grieving the relationship? Is it not going back? Is it trying to not have chocolate 3 meals a day? So what is it, right? And I would say in my past, the hardest thing for me was not going back. Recovering codependent here, also recovering people-pleasing butt kisser.
Wow.
And I always wanted to fix it. I wanted to make it better. So I think that was the hardest part for me. Now it's having to start over. That grief of seriously?
Yeah.
Again. I have to start again. So,
I can totally relate with that.
Yeah.
I experienced some shame when I went through an unwanted divorce, to where it was like, man, everyone knows my business.
So public.
And they very public. Very public,
Yeah.
Take down the photos on Facebook and Instagram and it was very very humbling to say the least for me.
And that's such a a personal thing to go through too. And when it's publicized, you get all the questions and people asking and people that you may not want to trust with all of that. That's a tough one too. Yeah.
Getting unwanted advice and all these wonderful things.
Everyone thinks they know your situation. Like, oh, I had the perfect fix for you.
Yeah.
Kelsey Ballerini just came out with a new album, and one of the songs is like, "We broke up," because she talks about in the song like, just stop asking. Like, I'm not going to give you details. We just broke up. It is what it is, you know? And it's like, finally, someone is saying what everyone feels when they actually break up.
Yeah. So what do you say to someone when they do go through a breakup? So, you know, we don't, so we're kind to other people who experience that.
I feel like solidarity is so helpful when you're just like, man, I'm here with you. I'm in it with you. I'll be that friend that cries with you if you need a sad day, a sad night. You need to just vent. I'll be that friend if you need to be distracted and have fun, like make it light for a second. You know, I feel like with breakups, the needs fluctuate. It goes in waves. And you got to really like know yourself well to be like, okay, today I actually do have to talk about it. Or today I can't think about it. I need to do something else. And so the thing that I think has helped me the most is when somebody's in that with me and they're like, great, what do you need? Let's do it together. They're not afraid to go either way with it. Yeah.
I think kind of a combination of the two questions you just asked is when I've gone through a breakup, the hardest part is actually getting back to realizing that I was whole without a relationship and getting back to that wholeness. And I think that when I'm thinking about now that second question, it's like, I don't know if I've always done this the best with people around me that have broken up. And because a lot of my friends have been like married and, you know, being 35, there's not as much kind of breakup in my world being single. But I think one of the things I think I would want to do better now is actually just keep reminding the person of who they were and who they are outside of that relationship and help pull them back into the hobbies, the things that brought them joy. And I remember when I ended a long-term relationship, one of the things that I remember was one of my managers at the times getting me a card that basically reminded me of all the ways that I was just going to keep walking forward in what my life purpose was, or like the things that actually filled me up, versus focusing on, you know, the breakup that I just went through. It was like pointing me towards this horizon of like, don't get so caught in these details that you're forgetting what your vision is beyond this. That's beyond a person. And I didn't know Christ at that point either. So
yeah, that's so good. I think it's important to remember kind of on what you're saying is like you're whole. We don't have to be in a relationship to like be happy and complete your calling in life. You know, and sometimes we make it like, oh, it's like I need this other person. It's like you need Jesus, and that's it.
Well, and it's one of those things too where that fluctuates, right? Like one day you can feel like that, and the next day, the next moment, you can be like, wait, I feel like I need something. And so that's always just like grief. It kind of goes up and goes down. And so I wish I could say that every single day I feel whole and complete by myself and not wanting a partner to walk in life with. But like, that's not the case. And I think that's very human, and God knows that.
It's a process.
Yeah.
So good. So Jayme, I know you're sitting on a lot of wisdom. I just want to like give you a floor for a second. Like I hear through the grapevine, you're writing a book, which when that comes out, everybody pre-order. It's gonna be incredible. So I don't know. I just feel like I want to give you the floor for a second just to drop some wisdom.
Thank you. How I used to do things is so differently than how I do things now. And you know, just to comment on the card situation, my mid-20s, late 20s, I went through a broken engagement, and something that someone did for me was one of the best things. She mailed me a card every day for 2 weeks, because she knew that those first 2 weeks were brutal. Sweet. And so anyone listening, like if you're having someone like close in your life, like that was like a balm to my soul, right? But how I used to do relationships is so different than how I do them now. I used to hyper attach very quickly, and then I got into the wrong relationships. I say that I dated Dangerous, the Dick, and the Devil. But
quite the range.
Yes.
I'm gonna for sure order your book because you're away with words.
Covers everything.
Oh man, I'm buying that book.
Yeah. So one thing that I decided 2.5 years ago was to do things differently, and with the input of Dr. Henry Cloud and Kate and JJ Tomlin with Heart of Dating.
Shout out.
Yes, I took School of Dating. I planned Kate and JJ's wedding, and they challenged me to take this dating challenge. So what is the dating challenge, you say? And it is, it's dating multiple people for 60 to 90 days without committing and without kissing, okay?
Yeah, let's go.
You're going to kiss the rest of your life. You're fine. It's fine, okay? So I didn't want to do it because doing a challenge like that means a lot of rejection. And that was the last thing that I ever wanted to do. But I said yes because God had put it on my heart. And you guys, the amount of mini breakups that I've been through, insane. But you know what? It is so different when we do it God's way, because every breakup I have had, I've left the man better off.
So good.
And if a man has not left me better off, I still took the higher road.
Wow.
And I will say that throughout this process, I did get into one relationship. But because I did it well, because I did it healthy, because I was a whole person going into it, I was able to recover very quickly. So I'm actually working on 2 books, everyone.
Wow.
The main book that I'm working on is called The Christian Bachelorette. And just the lessons that I have learned in this journey. But going through the breakup, I learned how to break up well. So when you date well, you can break up well.
Which isn't done very well, I think. Typically
it's all over the place.
I would say like it feels like I haven't like took stats. It feels like 95% of breakups always not always the most ugly, but it's just always like super weird and awkward and
most of them. Yeah, how do you do it well?
Yeah. Can I tell you?
Tell us, girl.
I mean, not an expert by any means, but I think the first thing is accepting that it's over. Like this acceptance, and like I had to get him out of my apartment, meaning like photos, anything that reminded me. Like first thing, like clear the room, like clear the room, right? And then it's got to get your team together. Who can you go to cry, to eat chocolate, to drink wine, to not talk, to watch a movie, to go on a walk, getting your team together to speak truth. And then I'm a firm believer in playlists. You got to get like
playlists.
You got to get a breakup playlist. Yes.
I have a playlist titled Relationships UGG in all caps. And it's just like some of it's sad where you can cry. Some of it's like, like more aggressive, but it's so helpful music to like kind of take you through those emotions. Sometimes you need help to get through that.
And I think having multiple playlists, like one, I had like an angry one because I needed an angry one. But then there was one that was like sad. I needed to cry. And then there was a hope one, right? Like so worship, great. Maverick City, Elevation, like, I mean, all the people, right? Any song to counteract any lies through the breakup. And I think like, what was the lesson that I learned from this, and how can I do it different?
Yeah.
Wow.
I loved what you said there. When you first started answering that question, as you said, now I'm having mini breakups. And I think what is so, both knowing from my own experience and also witnessing you since we've met, is that I do also think that dating as Christians and making some of those boundaries that the world doesn't give, like our physical intimacy, whether that's a kiss, a hug, whatever, when we draw those lines farther back, we actually make those breakups easier because we're not attached.
Correct.
And that is why there's so much, I've learned after writing and going through the process of researching and reading for the book that I published a year ago, is that there is so much like scientific evidence around the attachment that happens even in kissing, even hugging, all this kind of stuff. When you keep doing those physically intimate things, it just keeps making that Velcro stronger and stronger. So then when you release, when you have to pull away, if you don't give enough time, if you don't give a 60-day or something that holds back some of that stuff, you then find yourself having to grieve, almost like when I went through a breakup, since I was living with the person, it was like a divorce. We had our whole life integrated. Yeah, totally. And so I think that what's so beautiful about being a Christ follower now, and being obedient to where the conviction has now lied, to really push that line all the way back, is even with the mini breakups, like the people that you don't actually sometimes even date, but you have gotten to know enough, while those can actually sometimes still be just as hard because there's a different sort of intimacy.
Is that a common thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, for sure.
I'm not aware of that.
I think maybe, I don't know if it's more of a woman thing, but I definitely think that there's things where it could, you know, I'd be curious to hear more men outside of this podcast, but there is definitely something I think about like women, maybe because we are relational and storytellers in our mind a bit and with other people, that there is like this that we can kind of attach to someone that we're not even dating. Or, you know, doesn't even know we're interested. Situationship. There we go. Yeah.
Situationships are more prevalent than dating.
Okay. Can you explain that? Because I don't think a lot of people understand that, like myself.
Yes.
Or maybe I understand it. I just don't know what you mean.
It's where two people of the opposite sex flirt but don't define anything. And
have emotional intimacy. Emotional, mental.
Yeah, there's no commitment, but there is a lot of vulnerability. And instead of being like, hey, what are we? It's this, we don't want to talk about it. Right. And so it keeps going. And
but you still have like the role of a significant other, to where you're the first person they talk to every day and every night or whatever.
Text or whatever.
They take you, like you go grocery shopping together. All this stuff that's more kind of role playing.
And
without commitment.
Exactly. And I think one of the reasons why that happens is because of fear.
Right.
I think 100%. Fear, I think attachment styles come into play. And I think especially in our 30s, well, I'm not 30 anymore. Okay, guys, I'm 40. It's
40
fine.
and thriving.
It's fine. I'm 40 and
so
thriving.
young.
Okay, great. But I just think in 30s, people have had so much heartbreak. So it's easier to flirt than commit and to be actually vulnerable. So it's like these constant like dopamine hits of getting attention and affection, but you're not being vulnerable. But then it's not a peaceful place to be.
It's a little bit of an ego boost just to like get the attention.
Yeah.
I know sometimes that could be for guys where it's like they do it to we do it as a way to get an ego boost, but not actually committing to someone, and that doesn't serve the other person very well.
It doesn't serve ourselves either, because when this is something God's walking me through my unavailability that I've been to healthy men, is like we actually also don't serve ourselves in that, because we're giving up a part of ourselves in those moments where instead, if we turn to God or turn to something we're passionate about that's not associated, especially with the opposite gender, I think the same sex friends are great ways to turn into community and relationships that maybe we're lacking within the opposite, gender relationships. But like, just being able to, my mind just kind of got lost. But
no, that's good. I think the bottom line with situationships and friendationships is there's not clarity. It's not clear. So you're constantly wondering. And clarity is kindness.
It is. So good. So I'm curious, how did heartbreak positively impact you guys and also negatively impact you? I'd love to hear from Katie.
Yeah, let's go, Katie.
Sure. I'll start with how it negatively impacted me. I think with the heartbreak I experienced, so I'll go to my last heartbreak, which was probably the biggest one of my life. It was with this man that he was my longest term relationship. First man I fell in love with, first man that we had talked about a future together and all that commitment. So it put me like in a really vulnerable place where, and I don't say I did it perfectly. I think I learned so much. But the negative things, and this kind of ties into the first question of what was the hardest part, is the questions that it then brings up about myself. So it ended with him cheating on me. And that is just like a whole different type of breakup, I think, because worthiness, the whole concept of worthiness really comes up, because you're like, oh, like in my head, I went to, why did I need to be replaced? Like, what was unworthy in me? I turned it back on myself. And that was so hard. And also kind of tied into what was good about it. But I'll say the other hard things are, it really does affect not just you and that person's relationship. It also affects so many other elements of your life. Like, we had a very close-knit friend group, and we had to navigate that whole thing of like, oh, how do we hang out now? How do we go to birthday parties now? So the community was negatively affected. We worked 2 blocks away from each other, and so would like go to the same lunch spots. And so my whole life kind of shifted, and it felt like more than just a loss of one person, if that makes sense. You know, it was like a loss in all these different areas.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I had to completely redream my future.
Wow.
Like, you know, you in your head, you have this whole plan set out before you, and dreams and vision for it. And then it just gets like kind of ripped away.
The death of a dream.
100%.
Yeah.
The death of the person you were wanting to become.
Yeah.
And so it's just such an interesting, all-encompassing effect, right? But it's so both and, because all of those same exact things also tied into what was so positive for me too.
Yeah.
And of course, over time, like in the moment, you're like, what the F is going on? Like my whole life feels like it's just falling apart. But in time, I came to realize, I think the biggest thing for me with the positive impact was I got to know myself.
Yeah.
In a way that like, because it exposes things in you that you didn't even know were there. And you have to face it if you want to like get through it, right?
Yeah.
So I was able to look at myself in such a new and different way, and having compassion on myself in a new and different way. And even taking responsibility, right? Like, because it was a two-way road for a relationship. So I was able to be like, where did I contribute where I could have done better, or poorly communicated, or whatever, you know? And then I think the second positive impact was I learned to become a friend with grief. And grief and pain, I think, are some of the most impactful teachers I've had in my life. And that's hard to say. That is hard to get to where you can be like, oh, looking back, I'm like, wow, I got through that. And it's made me stronger. It's made me more compassionate. It's made me be able to relate to people. It's drawn me closer to Jesus, who ultimately has experienced all of this pain and suffering that we have, right? It gave me like such a different connection to him, because I was like, oh, now I know what you've been through in this area.
Yeah.
Right?
He's experienced a lot of heartbreak. Maybe not romantically.
So much heartbreak.
Yeah.
He lost, he was betrayed, he was cheated on.
Yeah. He was cheated
you
on.
know, emotionally.
And he was also human, so we actually, I don't know. Like,
yeah, who knows? I don't, who knows?
Like, there's no, you know, you'd have to think if he's fully human, there was also probably some part of his heart that actually
got broken.
belonged, perhaps.
Honestly, I've never thought about that.
Until this moment.
If there's a theologian somewhere, let me know.
Yeah.
But like, he was human, and so that makes him man. So he actually, you know,
maybe. Well, he was tempted like we were. So
yeah.
So
he was probably tempted in all areas, you know.
Yeah, he lost people. Yeah.
I would love to kind of go off of what you just said. That was so
ahead.
good. Yeah, it was
Thanks,
so good. My last long-term relationship I should have never been in. So I think it negatively impacted the people around me, and it breaks my heart because I never should have been in it in the first place. You know, he had 2 kids, so I felt like I had 3 heartbreaks instead of 1.
Wow.
And I had to walk away from the best job I've ever had in my life. I was getting paid really well too, but I couldn't do it, and my whole world was like shattered. So it not only negatively impacted like my physical life of like finances and job and home, but it also impacted like my community, because me walking away from that job, affected the whole team. Right. Because I ran the whole department. So it was just one of those things that my choices did that. But the positive is like, we have such a redemptive God.
Amen.
Like I would never be here today if not for the redemption of that relationship. Wow. That relationship had pivoted me to find Heart of Dating. Right. Wow. Which had planted the seed to come to Franklin. And now like my main gig is I'm a dating coach. Yeah. Right. I lead, like I'm a mentor in School of Dating. Like, and that's my passion in my heart today. Yeah. And so like, I would never be in Franklin if it wasn't for like the redemption of that relationship.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting how he can completely flip the thing that broke you to be the thing that then heals.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like in the same aspect too. It's the hardest part about breakups for me, or heartbreak, is the grief that you actually can't control it. I remember after having spent this whole long 7.5 years in a relationship, grieving the loss of that was easier than a relationship that lasted 2 months. And so we don't get to choose how great grief shows up and how long it goes, and the impact that then ripples from that, or the feelings that continue to grow, like to go from that. And so I remember a 2-month relationship being in grief for over a year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Grief is not linear like that.
No. Yeah. Because because it was my first like Christian dating relationship, there was just different intimacy that developed, that even though the other relationship I would say would be an average non-believer relationship in my mind, there is just something that the 2-month dating relationship was just so much more, there's so much more grief there. And so the hardest part of heartbreak and breakup is actually not getting to know how grief is going to show up, how long it's going to go on. But then kind of also to y'all's point is that the best part about those heartbreaks and those breakups is the growth that happens. And the ways that, like, I am so grateful for all the breakups and not relationships I haven't had, because being in this conversation and being on this podcast with you and being in Franklin and all this kind of stuff would have never happened if those things were yeses or whatnot. And so I just look back and say, even thank you, God, that you allowed those breakups to happen, because who I'll be now in a relationship and who I've grown to be because of those heartbreak moments and breakups, I'm going to be such a better wife now, such a better mom, such a better individual in a relationship. And I've been praying for a healthy, Christ-following relationship. If I would have gotten married 3 years ago, that probably would have happened. Crazy. But the time that I've had alone or in these, not being in a marriage, I've actually got to wrestle with God about who he calls me to be. I've gotten to see and meet more incredible people that reflect even more of the things I didn't understand and know, including men. Men have been such a positive part of, I don't think sometimes we give men enough credit too for how much they're so healing. There's been so many men along my way that have been the healing balm, Christian brothers that have spoken things into me that Christian sisters say, and just, some of my best friends that even aren't Christians, there's something soothing about how they support us as women. But then when it's coming from men, man, that is just it's totally different and totally restorative. And it doesn't even have to be romantic, It's just platonic and Christ-filled, and even if they're not Christians, a light of Christ in that. And so I'm so grateful for those. That's been the best part about heartbreak is that.
How do you guys heal from a breakup? So you're heartbroken. What's that process look like? I know it's still been touched on a little bit, but I just want to go deeper in that.
Chocolate.
Yeah, just minus the food. Come on,
and here's for our sponsor.
Sanders. Do I get free chocolate if I do that? I think counseling. I think that is, for me, that is a pillar. Counseling, Christian counseling specifically. It's worth it. I double up, sometimes triple up depending on the needs, to have someone who knows the Lord, who's been called to be a counselor, a mentor, to speak over you, to speak truth. Because I think, at least for me, there's so many lies of, I wish I would have done this. I should have done this. If I said this, then maybe we wouldn't be here. Right. So many shoulds in my brain, and wrestling with guilt and replaying things and wanting to do it different, and going to a Christian counselor. It's like, okay, let's flesh that out. Let's get to the truth. Yeah. So that has been my biggest pillar in healing.
Okay.
That's cool. In Jesus.
I think for me, this past one, I really learned that it's healing. It helped to look at healing as like a holistic thing, that I'm a human being with mind, body, soul, spirit, right? So it helped me to address each of those individually, right? Like, yes, counseling. I did this wonderful program called Onsite. So good. Healthy Love and Relationships course. If anybody wants to take it, so good. So yes, counseling, the word, prayer. Also some other things that helped me was, for me personally, I had to like get somatic with it too. So like incorporate body movement. I joined a boxing club.
Let's go.
It was incredible. Like, I don't know why, but for some reason that really connected to what needed to be healed in me. So I needed to like get it out of my body. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
And some of the times my coach was great too, because some of the times I just ended up like crying on the floor. And some of the times I just ended up feeling like so empowered and strong because I was using my physical strength, right? And it, like that, you know, the book The Body Keeps the Score.
Oh yeah.
The most amazing
so
book.
Good.
Highly recommend
so
it.
Good. And so sometimes I think
Check it
we
out.
as Christians forget that the body piece, the somatic piece, and that has helped me so much.
Yeah. Actually, like, that's so good with the boxing. I did spin class.
Really?
Oh yeah. And I would just be bawling sometimes, and other times I'd be like going at it. Yeah.
And sometimes it's gentle, sometimes it's aggressive, and it's okay to be both.
Spin class, they the Hill song is typically like a slower. It's like the slow song, right? Yeah. And that's when everyone gets emotional, and it was so healing.
Wow. So good.
That's so good.
Yeah.
I would like go off of that too. Is so I don't know about y'all ladies, but I am not good
guys.
And guys.
Oh yeah.
And guys.
Brian.
They just shared what they're. I don't know if you've been boxing and spin classing after.
Have
you?
boxing
Okay.
and jiu-jitsu.
So
Get it,
I don't know
hey.
where everyone associates with anger, but I'm really bad at processing anger. Anger was always a really scary thing. It was never. I didn't know the language of anger from a health perspective, and so from a healthy perspective, that anger can be frustration, disappointment, sadness, where all I saw as anger is, you know, yelling or volatility, things that weren't aligned with
This is so good.
with who God made me to be, what I'm around. And so one of the things that I think that you all are touching on, that I even have been enacting the last year or so, is I have and God's actually provided mirrors. Even at church, the church of my old pastor dealt with anger issues, and I was like, Lord, you put me in this place, and I like just want to run, because how am I supposed to learn from a pastor who has anger issues, where that's always been such a sensitive area? But that was such a healing thing to have a pastor that admitted to that. And then what's been cool is that then there's been moments where I've realized, like just this last Christmas, I was kind of heartbroken because something didn't happen the way I thought it should. And I just started yelling in my car, screaming.
Get it, girl.
And y'all, if anyone was by me, they just saw this little 5'2", barely could probably look over the steering wheel because this is a rental car, being like losing her lungs, right? But I needed to. I've never processed anger, and God's been so good being like, no, there's actually righteous anger. There's so many of those things, and so that's been processing some of that, like anger in the way of I'm disappointed, I'm sad, I feel like this is a loss that I, you know, to the point of like being able to grieve that loss that we kind of envisioned. And when I think about the ways that, going into your question, how I've healed, is one, journaling, because the biggest thing I learned about getting older is that if I can't admit to my feelings to myself, it's really hard to ever say it to someone else. Yeah. And so I had to get really comfortable with my voice and really comfortable with saying everything and knowing that I wasn't, well, sometimes I think we judge ourselves in journaling. I'm such a big proponent of journaling, getting people to get out of their judgment of themselves all the way down to their handwriting of things, because we have so many things. I'm not good enough. My handwriting is not good. I'm not, all these I'm not. And it's like, no, just get into a journal. No one ever needs to see. You could burn it the next day, right? Like just get everything out. So that's been a huge part of my journaling. The newer thing, speaking to the visualizing and storytelling though, that I'm trying to do is that I've actually been drawing out each of my days in little doodles, because I'm an artist at heart. And I had to, in order to not get myself into these situationship mentalities of people I meet or are interested in, I needed to actually draw out what was true to that day, so that I didn't future plan something in my mind that actually wasn't presently happening. And I'm a storyteller. I'm a visionary from like the work I do in the corporate realm, doing trend research and forecasting. It works great for that. It works great for, writing a book, story, whatever it is. It doesn't work well when you're in a one-on-one relationship with someone. And so journaling and now drawing or doodling is like something I've been doing outside of screaming in my car.
I'd actually love to just go off of that for like a quick moment. So as a dating coach, one of the things that we encourage is journaling after every date you go on.
Love that.
How did you feel? And you question yourself, why did I feel that way?
Wow.
Yeah, good.
Right? Ooh. So when I, throughout this journey, got into a relationship, I continued that. Right? Like even though we were in a relationship, it's like, how did I feel after this time? Right? So then when, Sharp Right Turn broke up with me, I was already in that habit. And I thought we were going to have tissues.
Oh. I'm sorry.
What?
My bad. Okay. I meant to bring some.
Okay. What was so beautiful is that journaling saved me in this last breakup, because I went back.
Yes.
In 7 days, because God can do anything in 7 days.
Yes, He can.
7 days before, I said, Lord, if this is not the man for me, please remove him. And I don't remember praying that. I don't remember journaling that. But because I was going back and I was reflecting, and I was like, you did it. You removed him. And I had immediate peace.
Wow.
And that was healing.
Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the
it's
part
testimony.
of and that's the part of journaling, is we forget all the moments that we've already lived where God's been faithful, where we've actually asked God to answer a prayer, and then He answers it, and we're like, oh wait, we asked you to do that. Dang it, God, so you're listening to me.
It's like, Lord, I'll do whatever you want. God's like, you sure about that?
Oh,
because I gotta like refine you a little bit through the refiner's fire, and we're gonna have to put you through little trials and tribulations to get the kind of fruit I want out of you. So,
Brian, what about you? How have you healed through?
Yeah.
I want to hear your answer for that.
Brian.
Sorry.
No, I love this. I went through therapy, healthy habits, like working out, developing great friendships, prioritizing that, living life that I love, a lot of reading. I would say one of the most transformational things for me is getting in tune with the voice in my heart.
Say more.
Yeah, expand.
Let's go.
Wow.
Kind of like what you guys are talking about, but guys are really bad at this, or I think they're worse than girls are, of like discerning what's going on in our heart. Like one of the things I learned through therapy and the thing called plumb line is there's 8 core emotions that every human experiences. And so, and there's only one like quote unquote positive one, which is glad. And all the other ones are like that you're feeling sad, you're feeling fear, you're feeling shame, you're feeling hurt, you're feeling loneliness, all these different things. And if you understand about it, it's like, that's how we were born. Like we were born with these emotions. Yeah. And sometimes you have like, especially like men will be like, oh, just like stuff your feelings down, just be a man. Like that's such an uneducated response when you realize like, hey, I was born with these emotions. And so it's really learning how to manage emotions well. But here's the problem for a lot of people, especially me, and I think a lot of men, is I wasn't able to self-identify what was even going on. I couldn't even put like words to like like I didn't even have like the wherewithal and the skill set to be like, I'm lonely right now.
Yeah.
Like I literally was like, I could just tell that there was something wrong going on with my heart, but I couldn't say like,
what is that? Yeah.
I'm lonely. Or I'm sad.
Yeah.
Or I'm feeling fear. So I had to like really do some deep work of realizing like first to put like language to what I'm actually experiencing. And I think the biggest thing for me, it hasn't been a thing with probably within the past like 3-4 months, but especially like going through a unwanted divorce and then moving to a new town and like restarting my life and grieving. There was a lot of shame. There's a lot of like hurt. There's a lot of sadness for the death of things. There's a lot of loneliness. I experienced a lot of loneliness. And there were times, and so the problem is if you don't in a healthy way respond to those emotions, you're going to turn to a coping method. Like overeating 100%. And a lot of times like sinful things. To be real, like gossip, like I'll be super honest, like I slipped into watching some things that I shouldn't have watched. And it was like things like Instagram where it's like it's just ridiculous sometimes how that is, but and it wasn't like, I wasn't like bound and like every single day kind of like some crazy, but it would be like every other month, like it would like come up because after going out through that, I was a negative. It wasn't so much of like whether it was overeating or looking at something I shouldn't have. It wasn't so much that I just love food or I love whatever. That was my negative coping response.
Yes. To a need that was valid.
Exactly. And so I had to learn like, hey, what are the needs of my heart? Like if I'm feeling loneliness, I need to call a friend. So I've gotten really good with community.
You can call us.
And like and ever since that, like I really did the deep work on that. I've been walking in complete freedom, like in just a lot better place as far as like just really processing my emotions really well. Because it's really hard. Like my self-image took a huge dip. My trust issues with other people went up high because feeling like hurt. But then also like the trust issue I had with my own self, my own decision making of like, huge. How did I get myself in this situation? I never thought I would have had this happen. So I had to like get my confidence back of like my own decision making, to be honest. And then navigate these negative emotions that are associated with it and then identify it and then figure out what's the need of my heart.
That was so well said.
Well, and I also too, like, just thank you for sharing that. And I think no matter if there's man or woman watching this and being like, you were talking about watching things that were unfruitful to kind of the health of your mind, body, spirit. It's like, even if that is an hourly habit for someone, there's no shame in that. It doesn't matter if it happens every day. Like, keep bringing it before Christ and stuff. And like, there is love and and like, and grace and all that stuff for that. The one question I thought of, just knowing that we have you here, is like, what would you, so you were talking about how you as a man, and probably a lot of men, don't always have that language. How would you now teach your son how to, like, what would you do with your son now, knowing some of that?
Hey son, how you feeling? Hey, that kid at the ball game, like, kicked you, or I don't know, whatever. How'd you feel? Like, help them just process it
in real time,
and just help them to put words to how you're feeling. Because again, it's just how we were. Once you start to understand that, it's just how God made us. Like, men have feelings too. You know what I mean? Like, I think we're a lot more similar in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? We're still all humans.
Sometimes even more sensitive, I feel like.
Sometimes. Well, I think a lot of times, at least
a beautiful way.
At least in the age, this is my personal opinion, but I feel like generally speaking, women have a higher self-image these days than guys. Well, again, I'm speaking in like generalities, like case by case scenario. But yeah, a lot of men have a low self-image, I believe.
Would you say the same thing for women? Like, how would you want to friend or someone that you're interested in? How would that be the same question you'd want us as women to ask men?
Is what? Sorry, say.
You had said that, like, how did that make you feel? Like, how could women support men in that, whether it's dating someone that you're dating or in addressing some of those feelings that maybe you're not sharing? Does that make sense?
I would say I'm totally on board with guys and girls can be friends, but like really sharing emotional things, unless you're pretty deep in a relationship, I would lean more towards like,
that being for the men to kind of do.
A man talk with a man.
I love that.
And vice versa. Great. If it's really deep stuff. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to like pour out my heart to just have anyone. Like, I have to be strategic with that.
That sounds like healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
Very healthy.
But I do have something. Very healthy. Okay, so when you are in a relationship, man and woman, something that I have found that works so well, again, shout out to Dr. Henry Cloud, is to have an emotional connection night, whether it is a half hour or an hour, where it's a time where you bring your emotions and there's no judgment and it is a safe time. The amount of growth, connection, honesty, because what it does is it keeps things from getting under the rug, right? It's like, it's like hitting the rug and it's like getting out, right? And it's talking about the elephant. Is there an elephant in the room? Let's talk about it, right? And then what I love is that you're still together at the end. Like, no one's left. So it creates this emotional stability. But don't do that with friends. Cute.
Yeah.
Relationships only.
My brother and his girlfriend do that. They have like a weekly, what do you call it? It was like some sort of check-in. And they like ask like, hey, how you doing? How's this week for you? How can I be doing better? Was there anything that hurt? Or was there anything that was awesome? And that's just so fun.
Yeah. It is fun. Like, you
always love it.
I mean, everyone here, I feel like, always brings the fun in these conversations. But I feel like, Katie, you're really good at that. Of like, like that could be so scary for someone that's not used to communicating like that. And then every time you say something like that, Katie, you're like, it's so fun. Yes, and I'm like, that sounds kind of terrifying.
But also fun.
Dear God, we're going to talk about our feelings. Yeah.
So how are you guys feeling right now? That's funny. I'd love to ask, like, how do you guys, after a heartbreak, like, how do you approach love again? Like, with learning from your mistakes, like, what are some
like where we're at currently?
Yeah, like how are you coming in more battle tested and more strategic and smart? Yeah, because you've learned from some previous things.
Yeah, I think it's taking an appropriate amount of time to grieve and to heal, and before getting back out there, talking to wise counsel in your life if you really are ready. Right? Are you getting back out there because you're wanting to fulfill a need that another person's never going to fulfill? Are you doing it out of scarcity? Or are you living out of abundance? And are you actually ready? Right. So I think that godly counsel piece is, I think that part for me is huge.
I think it's Brene Brown that says, soft heart, strong back. Is that right?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And as the Lord has healed me from past hurts, I feel like I'm just getting like softer and softer as life goes on, but I kind of love it. Yeah. And so I realize that I come at men and new relationships and love with so much more softness than I did before, both towards myself and towards this person in front of me. Because I'm like, man, we've all gone through so much. Yeah. Like, I think it just really tenderized me to, we've all experienced hurt. And there's a reason that hurt people, you know? So there's a little more empathy there. While also having a strong back. I think both are necessary. And it's hard to have that balance. But it's also helped me really, really hone what I'm looking for, when I'm okay with and when I'm not, and to be able to make those easy no's. Like, it's an easier no when it's not in full alignment, because now you know the cost a little bit more, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
So, yeah.
And I know, I think like going off of that, it's like really identifying, like reestablishing what are my core values, like what are my non-negotiables.
Yes.
Right. I think that's great.
Yeah. And hopefully like you're going through this with the Lord and he's in the conversation now about like what really matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like one of the things that's resonating with you're saying, Katie, is that I feel like more and more I feel like a pretty good communicator outside of romantic relationships. When I'm interested, I like freeze up, and suddenly my communication and all that. And there's so many, the Lord is really kind of taking away this steel trap over my heart that I didn't even know existed. And pulling away and in a refining way, in this refining fire, in the sanctifying way, showing that. And I think one of the things I've tried to do so much more when I've been interested is really come with like, not my mess in the way of I'm trying to create healthier boundaries. After writing a book about a lot of my messiness, it can be hard to, I'm figuring out healthy boundaries of when within dating to share certain stories. And a lot of the stories in my book I won't bring to dating early on anymore, and haven't. But I think one of the things is like, I am way more apt to say, hey, here's where I really struggle. And this is, I'm coming to you and like knowing that I'm not the best communicator, and I'm going to try and be more curious.
Saying that up front. Yeah.
Yeah. And share. I remember when I first admitted my anxiety to someone that I was interested in, it felt like such a relief to say, I have anxiety in relationships. And for him to know that, he approached me in such a different manner, where when I didn't admit the anxiety tendencies I have, I don't think it's part of my identity at all. I'm trying to remove that more and more. But there was freedom there, because then he could actually see why I was reacting or what I needed when there was moments of, those unhealthy habits where he's like, oh, this is because of your anxiety, not because this is some, like, I didn't feel as judged, or like he wasn't aware of the language.
You're able to give them tools to help understand. Yeah.
Because I'm even still trying to figure out the language of my own mind, and especially in romantic relationships, right? And so I think that now going forward, I try to be honest in the communication of like, here is where I know I struggle, or I own up to the things. Like, this is the things that I know I'm not great at, and like, let's work on this together.
Yeah.
And like be part of the way that we can, like, I think I recently called it, I had a conversation. I said, like, let's have like a innovation communication session, right? Like, let it be more fun, and be like, here's the stories that are in my mind. What is this? Here's how it played out for me. How did it play out for you? And there's like wildly different stories. They both made sense, but then we got to be like, okay, and then here's the middle ground of what that means and how to hold that. And so, I think each relationship I'm getting better and better at just communicating more, and that's bringing about healthier, relationships and moments, and I hope healthier, future moments as well.
So for me, I kind of look at it, to use it like a term, like money and having money in the bank. All the time. Like most people will teach, like I work for a place that talks about finances, and we talk about having an emergency fund. So that way, you have savings. So if something happens, you're not like freaking out because you don't got any money. Well, just how it's important to having a savings account for emergencies. I believe that it's also important to have money in the bank figuratively in your emotional health.
So good.
In your physical health.
Yep, that's good.
In your community. In your mind, in your body. So that, because when you've got money in the bank, you're more at peace. And when your mind's more at peace, it's more easily led by the Holy Spirit. And you're able to make much smarter decisions.
I have a question.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay, I love this. Can you explain can you explain the difference between that and withholding?
What do you mean by withholding?
I guess, what do you mean when you say you have money in the bank emotionally?
I just mean it's like you're coming from a place of strength.
Okay.
If I've got $0, I'm not gonna make, because I'm more desperate. I'm not gonna make as wise of decisions.
Okay.
Go like classroom.
But Brian, going on that's so good, because that's like loving your single life. Right. Like, I think that I would say for me, an example is okay, I'm thriving in what I love to do physically, right? I love my runs. I love my walks, right? So I'm like loving that piece.
Yeah.
Emotionally dialed in, right? But like Sarita Foxworth, she's one of my favorite authors. Sorry, she speaks to women mostly, but
I'll listen to some what's her name, Christine Kane or something.
Let's go.
Sarita, she's so inspiring. She's very prophetic, and she speaks to single women. And one of the things that she says that I have done is she's like, write 5 things that you could do as a single that you'll never be able to do when you're married. And now I put it like in my house, I'll always, I look back at it, right? So for example, right? So like my last relationship, I had to grieve my singleness. I'm like kind of sad because I love it so much, right? Yeah. So one of the things that I can do is I get to go to coffee shops whenever I want.
Yeah, we do.
I get to sprawl in the middle of the bed and sleep like
take up all the covers.
Yeah, just things like that. Like I get to watch The Bachelor whenever I want.
Yeah.
Love Island, what doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I can watch it.
Yeah.
Those things where I'm so thankful that I can do that, and I know that I won't be able to do that when I'm married.
Sure. Yeah, and it's just this idea of like walking into things from a position of strength.
So good.
Instead of like a position of weakness. And one of the reasons why my life exploded and went through what I went through, for context, is I entered that relationship from a place of weakness. I had moved from California to Idaho. Uprooted my entire life, major change. I knew no one in this new town except for one of my best friends that moved out there with me. Super lonely. This is 2020. Oh. And so the world literally, like right when I moved there, like I had heard about coronavirus, and then shortly after, like everything shuts down. So a new job, new town. Now I'm working, remotely in a place where I don't know anyone. On top of that, my mom passes away. So I'm super lonely, very little community, grieving the loss of a parent. And then, so that's like the backdrop. And then entering a relationship, I entered it in from a place of weakness because I was so lonely.
Wow.
And I just wanted love so bad. And I missed the signs that wasn't the right relationship for me, because I think I wanted it so bad. Because I wanted to get married. Like I just wanted it so bad that I convinced myself. And I, hey, for better or for worse, if I set my mind to something, I get it done. And this scenario, it didn't work out so well for me. Don't recommend it.
Podcast is going great.
So what I learned from that and moving forward is when I eventually hop back in the dating pool, is I want to come from a place of strength. I want to have, I'm not in a place where I'm lonely. I'm not like still tripped up on like unforgiveness and hurt. And, I have good friends. I'm doing good financially. I'm doing good in my career. And not to say that you have to have like your life perfect, but like I want to just be like in all these emotionally healthy. Like I'm just in a very like healthy overall spirit. I think most important is spiritually healthy. My personal opinion is let's just get all the sin as much as we can out of our life. Like just no habitual sin, and just be walking in walking in holiness and purity, and that, because that's where the power is. And so really just like, I think that's the most important thing, is really walking in holiness and just a purity and having a pure heart for the Lord. And then when you enter into a relationship, you're coming from a place of strength. You're at peace. You're not coming off desperate. Because you got money in the bank, if that makes sense.
I get it.
Got money in the bank.
Thanks for bringing that all the way around. That was good.
I will. One of the things I feel like we've even been in some conversations lately together as women, or I've with just different females just in my life, is the other thing I want to speak into that too is I feel like one of the things going on in dating right now is that there is a lot of people that feel like they have to have everything figured out before they enter a relationship.
Yeah, and that's not true.
And especially I feel like I've, for years now, I would say, even with people I've dated, they've felt like men feel like they need to have the job, have a house, whatever, have this clear purpose, have emotional health, be raising their hands in church, all these sort of things. And I think to myself, and we've had conversations as women in different spheres that I've been in of like, but like women want to be on that adventure with the men. And so it's like super important for both men and women to be like, we actually, the beautiful part about relationship is not having to show up with everything. Like, it's good to have a lot of things in the bank, right? But like, if something's not there, maybe God is allowing that to be that way, so that then you actually know that actually requires someone else to come in and love you in that area or be part of that adventure. And I wish that there was more honesty around like, just like I know that I won't be able to show up perfectly, I wouldn't expect anyone I'm dating to have everything together. That's part of the fun of it. That's part of the fun of a relationship, is I want to build whatever the canvas is together, especially if then it's marriage. Like, women want to be on an adventure.
So good.
Just as much as they also want men that do have like community, that do have some of those things that then help a relationship flourish, right? But like, you don't have to have it all. And it's kind of, I think, an enemy lie to men and women that we have to have it all. So,
and I think awareness is key, right?
Yeah.
I think that if there's not an awareness, that's where you can get tripped up and get in trouble in dating. But I think if you're aware, like, hey, this is where I'm lacking.
Yeah.
Like, that's huge.
Yeah.
Self-honesty. Yeah.
So good. Is it possible to just like avoid heartbreak moving forward? Like, is there like a cheat code?
Can I go?
Yeah.
This is yeah. So no, it's always a risk.
Oh, crap. That's not the answer I wanted to hear.
Yeah, it's always a risk.
Brian was hoping to wrap that up. Like, yeah, you can do it.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's always a risk. Like, I think a lot of Christians specifically, when they're like, go from dating into a relationship, oh, this is it, we're going to do it. It's still a risk.
Yeah.
Yep.
In marriage, it's still a risk.
Because there are so many different forms of heartbreak too.
Yeah.
We were just talking about this. It's not just romantic, right? So
well, and two, if you think about it, even with people that I know are married, there's heartbreak within marriage too. Like, you're not going to get married and the heartbreak ends.
That honestly sounds worse.
yeah, because you're stuck with it.
Because if you're not married, you could be like, see you later. But when you're married, you're like, you're still here.
But that's to your bank analogy, right? That's where it's so important to know that there's not one person that's going to fulfill all those things. And so there's going to be heartbreak moments where your husband or your wife doesn't meet you where you want to be, which is why you have strong community. It's why you have God. And so, like, let's, I'm kind of, as I'm saying this, I'm like, yeah, Lindsey, get ready for heartbreak within marriage. But then there's that person that, because for better or for worse, that's why that vow exists, right? Is that's actually, and then especially if you're a follower of Christ, like, that's why we're making a commitment to something beyond ourselves, to God, in front of community, to hold us to that, even when the heartbreak comes. It will come, whether that's infertility or infidelity or whatever, right? Whether it's just even, we know that within family, we don't always talk to each other well.
Yeah.
That doesn't change once we get married, because man, like, there's just so much of that. So heartbreak, I think it's just a part of relationship, and I mean, and kind of biblical too,
Yeah. And it's like, at this point, I'm like, well, I'm
so excited.
Like, I just, the incredible amount of joy and depths of love that I experienced because of getting into that situation that I did, I 100% would pick it.
Yeah.
Again, even with the heartbreak.
Yes.
No lie, I didn't realize I could experience that amount of love for a person. And
yes.
And so that to me is like the beautiful trade-off. And I do think that there's so much hope in it, because coming out on this side of things, and I do not feel fully, like, I'm still in process of my heartbreak, but coming out, I really do think that, like, we have the tools to be able to go through heartbreak and it doesn't take you out fully, and you like become refined by it. And there's such a redemption from it because of who the Lord is in our lives. Like, and yeah, so I would just encourage people, like, it's not hopeless.
Yeah.
Even though heartbreak is in the future, like, we can go through it and it can actually be turned into our good.
Yeah.
Wow.
We can actually there can be a part of joy that we like and praise.
In the midst of it too.
Yeah. Like, I praise you anywhere. That's that song, right? Like
Inside Out, that movie too, is where my mind is going. Where the core memories and they melted, joy and sadness is melded together.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, we get all of it.
Yeah.
And it can still be beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that song, that God bless the broken road that led me straight to you.
Oh,
That's
tears
gonna be my
every
wedding
time.
song.
Yeah, that's an amazing song.
Dang it.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Anyways.
Okay. Yeah.
So good, guys. What advice do you guys have for someone who's currently going through a heartbreak? They're eating that chocolate that Jayme has, right? Like literally it's in their mouth right now. They're chewing on it.
So good.
So good. I would say get your team together. Get your team together that you can trust. And I know this is going to be maybe not what you'd expect me to say, but your team might not be your everyday team. You want to find a team who understands what you're going through, who sees you. So it might be someone unexpected, but get a team together that can help you walk through the pain, who can help you speak truth over yourself to battle those lies. I would say get your playlist together, get your books together, get your verses together, and put your armor on every day. And just know every single day is one step closer to it's one step closer to healing.
And I think, like, be so kind to yourself too. Like, speaking of putting your armor on, some days that may look like just getting out of bed, right? Like, some days that victory may look like opening up your Bible or showering, like it can be little, and just be so kind and gentle to yourself if it takes a little longer than you thought.
Yes.
Because it's never the end.
It's such a good word. Yeah, that's a good word.
I think what comes to mind for me is that heartbreak, whether it was in relationship with another person or heartbreak I caused myself, the thing that helped me ultimately overcome that was finding a way to serve others and loving others in a way that I desired to be loved, and reflecting that to others. And I think that there's actually been moments where I've heard that there's studies that in order to get out of depression, you actually have to get outside yourself and go and serve. And that was so much of my story, is that sometimes there's a season to take care of ourselves and find our team. And then that other side of that coin of allowing yourself that space and allowing yourself that care and that love is also go and allow and be space for others, go and allow care for others, go and allow all those things for others. And then what you find is that you're actually not in lack, and it comes back to you. And I just think that if we could have, no matter what your beliefs are, just this society that just wanted to serve others and love others every single day, the world would be crazy. 100. It would be crazy and heavenly, and heaven exists on earth. And that, whenever I've been able to serve others, that's where I feel like, wow, God, I feel like you just touched the ground next to me, inside of me, whatever that is. And I think sometimes we don't know, if you find it hard to figure out how to serve other people, just looking at what happens, what is your love language, and then go and give that love language to someone else. Even today, one of the things that a healthier coping mechanism I'm trying to do instead of food, because God is trying to remove food from my my life and the idolization ways, is I was like, you know what I really love? I really love buying myself some fresh flowers, because I can take in the beauty with my eye, And I brought Brian some flowers today, which was
so nice of you.
Your first bouquet of flowers. I didn't realize that was.
I've never honestly been given flowers before.
More men need to receive flowers, and even just bringing them into their own home. And that's the beauty of like, that reminds me of God and God's love and nature that he creates to soothe us, to help heal us. And then it's not an idol because I'm not eating it for myself, and like, it's something that I see. And so, and how good does it, I don't know, like, I feel like I've been very blessed with friends that will just show up at my house with a loaf of bread or flowers. And like, that just made me feel so good. And it's actually because I've been loved that way. Yeah. I realized, okay, let me go and pass that on to other people in that same way. Cool. So,
and to piggyback off of both of these things, these are so good. If you don't feel capable of loving yourself or volunteering, a good coping mechanism, a good way to get there is, hear me out, playing with your inner child and your inner teen, right? Aww. Because then you can develop this love for your little girl, your little boy. Wow. Yep. Right? So like for me, what I did through this last breakup is, my sister, she was so sweet. She got me like a breakup book, and then she got me a coloring book. Yes. And so what I did,
I love that,
is I watched all the like 1990s, early 2000s rom-coms, and every single Sandra Bullock movie, I watched it. Kate
Sandra's
Hudson, Let's Go, Reese Witherspoon. Like, I just had so much fun, and I colored the heck out of it. So talk about, that's what I did with my anger. I was coloring. So aggressive. But because I did that, I was able to be kind to myself. Yeah. I was able to tap in, and then I was able to serve. But before that, I felt like I was incapable.
Yeah. There's a little bit of a nurturing that needs to happen to get to that place.
Well, and I love that you even brought up coloring books, because I sometimes think that us as adults, we forget how we played as kids. Yeah. Like, I'm just taking up singing again is important. Because I wanted to sing. I was writing lyrics, even though they were not really lyrics when I was young. And so now I get to go and play with that now and like have that be an expression. And so think back what you did when you're a child and then make that, like, it's not silly to color as an adult. No. It's not silly
or create something, do with your hands. Yeah. Like, yeah.
Even the Bible says to be childlike.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Should we have a coloring party every year?
Yeah. Let's go.
I'm down.
You guys are all so wise. What else are you sitting on that's brewing up in your heart that you wanna share?
Honestly, and not in a running away way, but I think go on a trip. Okay. Go on a trip by yourself.
Yeah.
Even if it's to the mountains, it's to the beach.
Get out of your context that you're in right now.
I did that. I was like, I took my Delta miles and I got out and I went to the snow, even though I don't love the snow, but it was really healthy at that time. I just think having a new setting, I was able to see things with new eyes, and I was able to kind of break away from the pain that was surrounding me. And when I came back, my house was cleared, right? So there was no memories, and I was able to like start anew.
Yeah. I actually ended up moving.
There you go.
Moving states. Well, and I wrestled with it for.
So did you break up and then move somewhere? Is that your story?
That's how I came here to Nashville.
Yeah. Okay, because you're like, I just want. Well, it's kind of what happened to me.
You're changing your environment.
And well, listen, because I wrestled with it for a long time because I want to be a person who stays. I don't want to run away, like you said.
Yeah.
And so I was like, Lord, like I was just praying for it for so long, and eventually He's like, babe, like, I want you to be healthy. Like, I want you to be healed. Like, if that's what you need, do it. Yeah.
Wait, is that what you think, how you interpret God talking to you?
Sorry. Yeah, God calls me babe sometimes.
Okay. Yeah. I've never heard that before.
Not like, like babe or Katie girl or whatever.
I'm learning.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like childlike. Like I'm His girl.
Let's go.
But yeah, and so like I would say just don't feel guilty of like if you just like really feel like you need something for healing and it's not sinful, right? Then do it. Then just say yes. Don't let there be guilt or shame with that.
Sometimes a fresh start.
Sometimes it's so helpful.
Yeah.
And Nashville has been such a soft place for me to land. Like, I'm so grateful.
My last podcast, we were talking about how moving here has been so healing.
Yeah. Good.
It's been healing for me.
That's awesome.
I don't know if you could say the same thing.
Yeah.
Healing process.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes we have to get out of our environment. That's actually a healthy thing. It's okay.
Yeah. If you're being triggered, like remove yourself from what's triggering you just enough to get like to a whole healing place. And then maybe you can go back or be reintroduced to those situations. But like sometimes you need to get out.
Yeah. I feel like one of the things I love all these ideas. So adding on to it and kind of tangentially is like the idea that forgive yourself of the mistakes that were made, the wisdom and knowledge you didn't have. I think that I remember sitting in a church service about 2 months ago, and they were talking about who do we need to forgive, and my name came to my mind. And I think that so often that's actually the part of the healing process of heartbreak, of anything, is going and saying, you know what, I only knew what I knew then. Like even some of your story, you only knew what you knew, but now you know better. And so if you're embodied and integrated in what you learned, and it's turned from an experience to knowledge to wisdom, which wisdom is knowledge integrated, it's like then being able to like forgive your younger self, love your younger self, and then say, you know, we're gonna pick ourselves up from the bootstraps and do better next time. And
forgive yourself from 2 days ago,
an hour ago when you messed up. Like all of this stuff, even related to marriage, at whatever point, if God gives us that gift, is like that forgiveness has to enter into marriage, that forgiveness of ourselves and of our partner. And so if we can't practice that in dating and this heartbreak, heartache, all that kind of stuff, it's going to be really tough in marriage. So this is just our practice ground and for a healthier marriage.
So good. So good. Well, any last final thoughts before we land this plane?
Date well so you can heal well. Because it's all a risk.
And love is a gift.
It is.
Love is a gift. So just because we got broken over, it doesn't mean it's not a gift still.
And also, when you fall down, what did you pick up? Right? Like, what did you pick up from the relationship? What did you learn?
Yeah. And like, this is something that God's echoing to me all the time, is just like rest and receive. Like, you don't have to strive for something that's meant for you and that God has for you. He's the giver of the best gifts, and the best gifts are the surprises that someone else has noticed me in a way that even a small thing. And so just rest and receive what he has for you.
So good.
One of the best things I ever heard was from Mandy Hale, the single woman. And this is if you've been left, if you've been rejected. And it's a reminder that they didn't leave you, like God moved them.
Wow. Cool. That's beautiful.
I think I would say you can't be offended and curious at the same time.
Okay,
Brian. Okay. Mic drop. Where's the mic?
I heard that somewhere.
I love that.
I heard that somewhere. I didn't make that up. I can't remember where I heard that.
But you remembered it.
That's great. You were trying to cool things down, then you just like, you just brought the heat.
Because I think sometimes the trap we can fall into is like making assumptions.
Oh yeah. And we know what that means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I might see one sign that like was a similar thing I saw in my ex or whatever, or whatever. And maybe I assume like, oh, they're just like, that's not necessarily true. Like I didn't have to really approach things, because it's like, just because you might have been, hurt in the past or whatever, you got to like, like you said, your message was like, love is a gift, and they're the best is truly yet to come. And just coming with that like childlike faith, not making assumptions before you have the whole story. Like let's not write stories in our mind of things we really don't know. Like, and this is like, I'm in sales, and it's like I always have to learn how to be really like just come with the curiosity. Like I don't want to just assume they're not going to buy. You need to figure out what are their needs. Maybe they are going to buy. I need to be curious about that.
This is spitting.
You know what I mean? And so,
hear this word today.
Because I think so often, at least in our Christian subculture, we can just assume things without actually getting the full story.
Yes.
And so just being very innocent and just very curious and just like, just coming in and just like, I'm just come in and ask questions.
Especially if there's a trigger there, because you go to fear response.
Yeah.
It's like hard.
Versus faith response.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome, Brian.
So.
Wow.
Anything else?
No, just this is so wonderful how you're creating this environment, and this is such a cool moment, and it's been so fun to watch all your guests, and You've really led this so well, and excited for what's to come with this podcast.
Yeah.
With
Thank you.
The world needs these conversations.
Yeah.
And I feel like this conversation is, have you guys heard of the saying, turn your breakup to a break over?
No.
And this can be a part of your healing journey.
Yeah.
That's so funny. I was telling somebody earlier that I was going on this, and it was like, oh, you're going to talk about heartbreak? Are you nervous? I was like, I think I was kind of excited because there's also a healing in talking about it and getting it out and sharing it between friends. So this is just a beautiful space.
I love just to talk about real stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's go.
Because if you can't talk about what's really going on, you can't ever solve problems.
Yep.
Yes.
Because we were created to win.
Yes.
Hey! All right.
On that note,
Thank you guys.
Thank
you, Brian. Thanks, Brian.
We'll wrap things up. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a good
So
one.
good.
Till next time.
Yes.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Yes.
Let's have some chocolate.